Hello and welcome. Okay, this is take two. I tried to use a new software called OneStream, but as some of you may have seen, there was no video there and they do not seem to be able to find it. So we're going to just start over. That happens, such is life. So, we are starting the 90 days to building yourself a lead strategy, a lead generation strategy so that you have lots of people to talk to in your business. And over the next 90 days, we're going to go through all of the different steps that I have taken to put in play a lead generation strategy. And the idea behind this is so that you have a system that works for you. And there are many different components that go with that. So, the first one we are going to talk about is understanding and defining your target audience. Who exactly is it that you're serving? So, the outcome of today's training, and you'll see additional trainings throughout the week that will just kind of give you little nudges on different things to be thinking about so that by the end of this week, you will have defined who your target audience is so that as we move forward into other trainings, you'll be very clear on who it is you serve. And I mean very specifically who you serve, because one of the things I hear all the time when I ask who someone, a coach serves, they say, well, everybody. No, we don't serve everybody. It doesn't matter for a life coach, a health coach, a spiritual coach, whatever. You cannot serve everyone because when it comes down to your marketing tactics, you are not going to be able to be specific enough in your messaging to resonate with anyone. When we are too general, we end up having no one connect with us. We need to talk specifically. We're in a very crowded space. There are lots of coaches out there. There are lots of people doing what you do. And if you don't get specific on who you want to serve and how you're going to help that person, how are they going to pick you versus someone else? So it's really important to know your target audience and be very clear on it. So, like I said, at the end of this week, the outcome for you should be a very clear and focused idea of who your target audience is. So, let's get started. You're going to notice I'm looking at my notebook here that I have my notes on because I forget. My memory is not what it once was, and I don't want to forget anything. So I would rather take a second to look here and come back and talk to you here than me get off here and go, darn it, I forgot to tell them about this or I forgot to tell them about that. So let me take a quick look what we want to talk about. So, why it is important to define your target audience. I think I talked a lot about it, but clarity and focus. Clarity for them, your client, to know that you're talking to them, but clarity for you to know exactly what you want to say to them because you know exactly who that end client is. You're not trying to speak to everyone. Let's imagine if you're trying to speak to everyone, well, then you're potentially talking to a 25-year-old man versus a 50-year-old woman versus a 35-year-old man. Like, you can't talk to all those people. They're not going to have the same problems. They're not going to have the same challenges. They're not the same. And so that's where it becomes so important to have that clarity. And then it allows you to really focus in and really get to know your client and understand all of their pains and challenges because you have focused in and gotten very specific. It's all about effective communication. When you sit down to start messaging, and you may have already seen this as you're putting posts out there on social, or maybe you've got a blog, or maybe you are doing a YouTube channel, whatever your platform and tactic is. Sometimes it's really hard to write because you're trying to write too broad. And what happens when you do that is you're probably not going to see engagement like you would like to see. You might see some likes, but you're probably not going to see engagement, and very doubtful that you're going to see it turn into any sales. And it's because it's near impossible to message to too many people. Back in the day when I started marketing, our messaging was very much about benefits and features of the product or service. It never really took into account the end user. Now it's quite the opposite. It is all about the end user and knowing who they are and what they're going through in life and how you can help them. So you have to have that specific messaging. The other reason is about conversion. If you're frustrated because you've been putting out content for 6 months or a year or whatever, and you're not getting any sort of, ROI from it, meaning any sales happening, because if you're looking at likes and even comments, those are vanity metrics. And although they're great, especially if it's engagement, because that means people are engaging with you and hopefully you're taking them, offline to have a conversation, but at least you've got some engagement. But vanity metrics, that's all they are. You have to look at it from an ROI perspective. Is this time that I'm spending doing X, is it producing Y, meaning revenue, a new client? If it's not, then you might want to reevaluate what you're doing. And so this is again why it's important to know who you're talking to, so that that person can be like, wow, she is in my head. She totally understands me. I need to work with her. And that's what's going to separate you from someone else who is talking at a broad level. Because maybe it's a mom with kids under 5 who's stressed out and overwhelmed and doesn't know what to do and is looking for a life coach. That person and what they need is so different than a corporate woman who's, balancing work, uh, building a business and, working full time. That's a different need from a life coach than that mom. So who is it that you want to serve? Now, if you are already, out there and you've got some clients, then you probably have a fairly good idea. If you just take a look at the clients you've been serving, kind of look at your universe of who's in your world, you'll have a fairly good idea and you can, really build on that and get more specific. If you're brand new and you have not, got any clients, or maybe you've just gotten a couple, friends, that sort of thing, then who do you want to serve? And that's what I would work from a place of who is it that you actually want to serve? Okay. Now, key factors to consider when you are getting your target audience created. One is demographic information. So, demographic is your basic male, female, age, where do they live, how many cars do they have, that kind of basic information. And you can look on Google and, look up demographic and it'll give you a whole list of things to look for. But you really just want to, from that, for me, this area is about, is it male or female? What is the age that they are? Are they a mom? Are they working? Corporate woman. Like those are the sort of things I look at from a demographic. What I find far more important is the psychographic. And that's where you start getting into what are their beliefs? What do they believe to be true? What are their challenges? What are their pain points? You want to start looking more at the psychology behind them and kind of what's going on the inside more than the outside. And if you start to understand their beliefs, and their beliefs are their beliefs, you're never going to be able to argue them and say, well, that's not true, because it's what they believe. But what you can do is start to challenge them to think differently. And so that can show up in your copy if you really understand. Like the example I give is, for me, I serve, corporate women who are building a coaching business while still working full time. And they might have a family, obligations, other stuff going on in their life. And so one of the big things for them is time. So if I can show them how working with me is going to save them time, get their business built faster, give them more time with their family, that's going to be a huge thing that they're going to resonate with. And it may not even be at a conscious level. It may very much be at their subconscious level that they're like attracted to me and my services, versus another coach who may do exactly what I do, but they don't talk about that in their marketing. And so someone's not going to resonate with them because they're not hitting on those tender points that really affect them. And I'm sure you've seen that as you're connecting with different coaches. Maybe you've already, hired other mentors or coaches, bought courses. There's stuff in the messaging there that you connect with, and that's why you move forward. And so it's the same thing as you are looking at this target audience. The more you're going to be able to connect with them, the more they're going to resonate with you. Then let's see. So we talk about values, beliefs, interests, personality traits, and then the challenges and pain points. These are all things that you're going to want to look at from the psychographic perspective. Then we want to look at their goals and desires. What is it that they actually want to achieve? What are they trying to get? My mentor brought up such a good point this morning. She goes, so many gurus out there are focused on, making $1 million, making 1 million a month, making 100,000 a month, whatever it might be. But for a lot of people, that's not what they're looking to do. They just want to replace the income they have with their full-time job so that they can get the freedom to just live life under their terms. So maybe it's only 60,000, maybe it's 100,000, maybe it's 250, whatever it might be. It may not be as big as you think. So make sure you understand what are the dreams that they have. Maybe they don't even want to, leave their job. They just want extra income to take vacations. Whatever it might be, you need to understand what their goals and their desires are. If you're a health coach, are they just looking to get healthy? Is it because they, like me, I have my son's wedding coming up because they want to lose weight for a special event? Understanding what their goal is and their desire out of working with you or buying your course, your product, whatever, it, that is really important because that will help you again in your messaging. So those are kind of the top things that you're going to want to think about. So what I would suggest is if you haven't already got a notebook, I'd get a notebook, or if you like to have digital, I'm still old school. I still got to have this little, paper pad thing here. Start working on this, throwing some stuff down on the sheet of paper. And throughout the week, I'm going to continue to add more little trainings that dive a little deeper into some of the different areas. So, if you're having any trouble, it'll help you kind of get over the edge there. Now, if you have any questions, you're going to want to go to my Facebook group, and I will put the link here so that you can go ahead and join the Facebook group. I'm going to be active in that Facebook group, answering questions, helping you. I'd love it if you, know who your target audience is, if you could put it there and start thinking about, the specifics here. So put down what you have and get feedback from the group, from me, as to what else you might add so that you become really specific in who it is that you serve. And once you have this is a starting framework for everything else that we're going to do. Is we really need to understand who's our target audience at a very deep level so that our messaging resonates so strongly with them. They raise their hand and say, "That's me, coach. Me. I need to work with you." All right. I hope this is helpful, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next training.